More than 200,000 people, combatants on all sides and civilians, have died. Whole cities have been reduced to rubble, and almost half the population, perhaps 10 million people, have been uprooted in the biggest refugee crisis since World War II.
The story of Oskar Schindler has been told both in print and on film. A German businessman who saved the lives of more than 1,000 mostly Polish Jewish refugees during World War II. Here in modern times, our next guest has been likened to what Schindler did, spending his money and his efforts to save a people from eradication. In this case, the people of Syria, more than 100,000 of whom have been killed in the slaughter ordered by their own leader and who have nowhere to turn for refuge. Let's welcome founder of the Global Village Champions Foundation, Yank Barry. Yank, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure. How are you?
Excellent, Yank. Thanks so much for asking. Let's ask about you, though, with regard to Syria and the refugees there. I just mentioned the tremendous amount of heartache that has gone on in that part of the country. But what is it that drew you to say, I'm going to take my money and my time, and it's got to be the people of Syria?
I was in Sofia, Bulgaria. I was being honored for helping release the Benghazi Six, if you remember them, the 5 Bulgarian nurses and Palestinian doctor from Libya. And the problem already started. It wasn't in the news, but there were refugees starting to come in. And it started getting worse and worse. I came back and nobody was helping them. And I figured someone's got to do it. So I started doing it, and it got bigger and bigger. And again, no one didn't help any longer. And I just kept on doing it.
Your money, though, you've made money. You've made a lot of money over the years. But you started auspiciously because you've had trouble in the past, and you've had legal trouble in the past that you're very open about, as a matter of fact. And you say that that was a turning point in your life. I'm curious. Tell us about that.
Most definitely. With every bad, there's good. There's a silver lining, and you got to realize, turn your life around. I was a kid. I was 21 years old, doing drugs, and realized that this was not the right route to take. And later on in life, I had a run-in with the state of Texas and the federal government, beat them, thank God, twice, and God was on my side, and I figured I want to help people.
With regard, then, to taking your money and putting it into Syria, I think the thing that caught our attention here is you've got a hotel that you're putting people into, correct?
2 hotels.
You have 2 hotels that you're putting people into, you're putting the refugees into, but you have to be able to get in there. You got to buy the hotels. You got to convince the people, though, Yank, that you're really there to do something to help them, because I've got to believe that these people right now are shell-shocked. They don't think anybody wants to help them. So you can go in and buy the hotels, you can bring in the money and the food, but how did you get them to trust you?
Well, first of all, we promised them refugee status, which, as you know, is really hard to get. Once we got that, they had confidence in us. Then we put them in the hotels. Then we got them traveling permits so we could start placing families in other countries. And the word spread after a while. Once we placed 4 or 5 families in Germany, 2 families in Switzerland, a family in Sweden, the word got around, hey, they still have communication. They have cell phones. A lot of these people were prominent when they ran away. They took some of their belongings, but they all have communication.
There is the Jewish Schindler. I mentioned that at the lead-in here, and you have been dubbed that by the Jerusalem Post. I also read a story that talked about the fact that being Jewish, there are certain people in the Middle East who don't get along with Jews, who quite frankly hate them in many ways. And there are some people thinking that you're helping people who, in many cases, would be seen as hating Jews. Has that ever come up in any of the discussions, in any of the time spent with these folks?
Oh, in the early days when we were just feeding people in the camps before I had the hotels, there were some refugees who refused to eat the food. They thought I was poisoning it. No, we ran in. I had a lot of hate mail here in Bulgaria from Bulgarians who didn't want refugees in their country. And that's all settled down now. It's taken 4 years.
What do the people tell you about their leadership that is trying to eradicate them?
Well, ironically, we were the first ones that mentioned the word ISIS. They didn't know how to spell it. And after interviewing, we've released 1,600 or more refugees in the last 3 years. And it's ironic that the majority of them don't feel that Assad is the big problem.
They think it's ISIS instead of Assad?
They think it's ISIS, the new Syrian army. They don't think it's Assad. They're not saying Assad's a good guy. Don't get me wrong. But they don't believe it was Assad. They had good times with Assad. It was ran like Iraq was ran. Was Saddam really bad? What has history proven? Was he a bad guy? He was a bad guy in our eyes, but the countries ran.
Have you tried to change their mind any, Yank? Have you tried to give them some idea of the truth?
Yes, but you know what? You don't instill confidence by beating them up. They've been beaten up so badly. You just try and say, "Look, I think you're not saying it right. We see it the right way, but there's so many other things to talk about. I just let it go over my head. We want to help these people."
I got about a minute left here, Yank. You're helping these people right now. You're putting your own money into it. By the way, can you tell us how much of your own money you've put into this?
Many millions.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. What do you hope to be the end result here? Because there doesn't seem to be any end to this war in Syria. Certainly there doesn't seem to be any end to the fact that Assad is going to continue to kill his people. So what do you see as the end game here? How long might it take? You could go broke doing something like this.
I won't go broke, but it's taking its toll on me. And look, I just got back from France dealing with the French government. We're dealing with the Canadian government. I'll be in the States, probably addressing the Senate and the Congress. We got to start letting these people in. They have nowhere to go. It's really sad.
Is that just it? You want to be able to take these people, you want to get them into America or get them into Canada, but just get them out of the country?
Yes, yes. They can't stay.
Are the governments helping?
Some of the governments are helping. Germany has been incredibly cooperative.
The United States?
Not yet. They haven't opened their doors yet, but we'll see what happens when I address the Senate and the Congress.
And that's going to be when?
That'll be probably sometime after the summer.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Yank, we're out of time right now. I want to stay in touch with you. Let's find out when you're coming to the States. Let's follow up on this story. And again, for what you're doing for these people to save lives, God bless you, my friend. Keep working at it.
Thank you, brother. Great talking to you.
All right, Yank, take care. Coming up next, there's a gentleman who spends his money. So let's go ahead and talk about spending your money, if you will. The question, how much does a Grecian earn? I know, sometimes you have to go for the easy stuff. It's coming up next, right here with the Money Master on MidPoint.